Well, hello there, everyone, and welcome. I'm Dr. Damian Wolf, one of the senior researchers here, and I gotta tell you, I'm absolutely delighted to be hosting this mandatory orientation for your brand new assignment at the Astrakhan site. Over my 15 years with the Foundation, I've had the privilege of interviewing and researching some truly mind-bending anomalies. But today we're diving into a highly classified reality that is, well, equal parts miraculous and terrifying. We're talking about SCP-006. So, go ahead and grab your notepads, clear your minds, and please pay close attention today, because what you are about to learn is restricted to the absolute highest echelons of the Foundation. Think of our agenda today as your personal survival syllabus. We're going to quickly cover the history of SCP-006, its biological and healing anomalies, the site disguise, interaction protocols, and finally, the rather grim consequences of accidental exposure. All right, Section 1, History of SCP-006. Okay, let's dive into this.
We've got a really deeply frustrating timeline here regarding how we actually secured this anomaly. Foundation Command has literally known about this very small spring, located exactly 60 kilometers west of Astrakhan, since the 19th century. Believe it or not, by 1902, we'd even managed to snag samples and chemically identify the emitted liquid. And you know what it registered as? Simple mineral water, just water. But despite knowing all about it, it took us until 1991 to actually establish secure Foundation control over the site.
I'll be honest, with an IQ north of 186, I rarely find things baffling. But it is deeply, deeply ironic that it took nearly a century to secure a tiny little spring. The short answer for the massive delay? Political factors. With my background in psychology, I always find this historical period just fascinating. We're talking Cold War-era political paranoia and territorial disputes that kept the ultimate healing spring totally out of our hands for the better part of a century. We literally had to sit and wait for the geopolitical landscape to shift in 1991 before we could finally move in and lock the whole shebang down.
Moving right along to Section 2, Biological and Healing Anomalies. Let's transition over to the actual properties of the liquid itself, because, look, despite appearing chemically identical to your everyday mineral water, its true nature is absolutely miraculous. We call this the property of health. Ingesting this liquid produces just a staggering array of biological benefits in human subjects. I mean, it regenerates DNA that's been damaged by excessive duplication. It heightens the excitement of cellular duplication and vastly improves your body's ability to repair damaged tissue. On top of all that, it triggers a frankly frightening increase in the effectiveness of the human immune system, basically immediately destroying any hostile bacteria and viral agents on contact. It essentially takes our frail human bodies and turns them into an invincible biological fortress. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the bizarre biological discrepancy we observed during our animal testing phases. So while humans and higher primates experience the full, miraculous healing and regenerative benefits, our avian and reptilian test subjects, they were completely unaffected by the liquid's properties. Literally nothing happened. To a bird or a lizard, SCP-006 really is just a puddle of mineral water. It's this incredibly complex metaphysical and biological puzzle that our research teams are still trying to untangle. Next up, Section 3, Site Disguise and Misinformation. So think about it. When you have a literal fountain of youth sitting out there in the Russian countryside, you're going to need a profound level of institutional paranoia to keep it a secret, right? Right on the exact spot of the spring, we went ahead and constructed the Astrakhan Chemical Factory. And this disguise is absolutely vital for maintaining site secrecy. The vast majority of the laborers working there are under Foundation and Russian control. It acts as this bustling, totally believable, and entirely mundane industrial front, ensuring that absolutely no one suspects a tiny world-altering spring is housed securely inside its walls. But physical walls? Yeah, they aren't enough. We need psychological walls too. Before any personnel are allowed to perform procedures on site, they absolutely must be briefed. Most of you, up until today, would have received material SCP-006B or C. Now, those are false narratives detailing extreme high toxicity and danger. Briefing A, which contains the actual true nature of SCP-006 that we're discussing right now, is strictly restricted to those with Overseer or O5 clearance. We deliberately lie to our own staff. Why? Well, because if the guards knew they were guarding a liquid that could cure literally any disease and vastly extend their lives, human temptation would inevitably compromise containment. And Procedure 006-XI-12 just brilliantly illustrates our commitment to that lie. Check this out. If anyone accidentally comes into contact with the liquid during operations, the commander in charge immediately triggers this procedure.
The personnel on the ground have been briefed to believe this means deadly high toxicity is present, which prompts an immediate panicked evacuation. It's a very clever, highly effective psychological manipulation tactic to instantly clear the room without ever raising even a single suspicion about the liquid's true, highly desirable nature.
Okay, Section 4. Interaction and Transfer Protocols. Let's take a look at the logistics of actually handling this thing. For a safe class object, it is anything but simple to interact with. Any personnel interacting with SCP-006 in any physical capacity must follow these exact steps to the letter. First, you don a heavily modified Class 6 BNC suit. Second, to ensure that suit is worn properly and functioning perfectly, you must be submerged completely into a pool of water. And third, we check for any air bubbles signifying a leak. I've always found a bit of irony here, honestly. Standard chemical protection gear is usually designed to protect the wearer from an anomaly, right? But in this case, the suit is actually protecting the anomaly's secret from the wearer. We literally cannot have a single drop touching your skin.
Notice that number 3. That is the number of O5 level personnel required just to approve a simple procedure to acquire liquid from SCP-006. It takes 3 overseers just to authorize a withdrawal. That should really showcase the immense administrative lock we've placed on this otherwise safe class object.
And once that highly elusive approval is finally granted, the physical transfer is no less intense. The liquid absolutely must be transferred in a quad sealant container, and the whole thing has to be done under heavy armed guard. The Foundation ensures that not a single, solitary, unauthorized drop goes missing or gets skimmed off the top. The security here is absolute.
Which brings us to Section 5, Accidental Exposure Consequences.
I'm going to drop the lightheartedness just for a moment here, guys, because we seriously need to address protocol failures. So, the crucial point is, if at any time personnel come into contact with SCP-006 or its liquid, like if you actually touch it or somehow drink the water, you are to be confined, studied, and then terminated. These protocols are extreme and they are completely non-negotiable.
Here's the problem. Because the liquid turns the human body into a rapidly regenerating powerhouse, our standard termination methods simply do not work. The body just heals way too fast. Therefore, incineration is the mandated and really the most effective termination method for all exposed personnel. Honestly, it's the only protocol thorough enough to guarantee termination against the body that aggressively refuses to die.
So, I want to leave you all with a question. Is keeping the ultimate cure a secret worth the ultimate price of human incineration? It's quite a provocative puzzle, isn't it? As you head off to your new assignments at the Astrakhan Chemical Factory today, I really want you to ponder that. Keep your suit sealed, trust the protocols, and always remember the immense weight of the secret you are now helping to protect. Thank you all so much for your excellent attention during this orientation. You are dismissed.